No niin. Mukavaa lauantaita Vaasan yliopiston puolesta. Meillä on tänään ohjelman muutos. Tamara Kalkina joutui valitettavasti peruuttamaan esityksensä ja hänen tilallaan meillä on Ebo Kwegyir-Afful. Hän pitää esityksensä miksipä ei leikkiä turvallisuuden kanssa. Hän puhuu meille pelillistämisestä. So, the next in the program, we have a program change. Tamara Kalkina had to cancel, but instead of Tamara, we had Ebo Kwegyir-Afful, and he's going to talk us about safety. Why not play with it? Okay, you're welcome, Ebo.
Thank you very much. We all know safety is very important, and yet I'm proposing playing with it. So we want to know why we need to play with safety, even though se on tärkeä. Yes, so that's my name, Ebo, and I'm from University of Vaasan. We know that although safety is important, we have devices that are able to captivate children's attention and interest. For example, while children play with their phones or devices or games on computers, they have a negative connotation. That means they can be addictive. And these days, we are trying to take kids away from the addiction that these devices cause. However, these technical devices can have positive impact. For example, if the interest and the enthusiasm, the captivating nature of these devices are channeled towards education, then we can be sure that we would have a better benefit, which these days is called gamification. So that is what this thesis is about. And here we see the pyramid of learning as the way people learn and remember. Of course, if we do not remember subject matters that we learn, learning doesn't become important. So things that we would cause us to remember the learning material are very important. And evidence indicates that when we read things, for example, signboards or things, we remember only 10%. And then what we hear could be some information that someone has told us that is about 20%. And when you watch still pictures, up to 30%. And moving pictures is also 50%. And when you watch something being dramatized, that increases up to 70%. And then when you simulate a real experience, it's above 70% to 90%. So simulation is very important. And if we are able to inculcate a system in a simulation and allow participants to be immersed in it, then they can be trained in a better way. So serious games, that is serious games, when we use real life experiences with games for not entertainment, but for serious business. And serious business could be like production improvement or for safety. We see here in educational context to safety with virtual reality and serious games is increasing the application as well as in industry. And in the military, for example, serious games is used to treat military personnel when they return from wars and when they have post-traumatic stress disorder. For example, there's this software called Virtual Iraq, which is used to relieve soldiers who have been to war and seen so much negative things like deaths of people. When they are traumatized, this immersive environment is used for them to be relieved of that effect. However, it can also have negative consequences. For example, evidence indicates that there was a time when soldiers refused to kill people on battleground. And so they thought of what can we do to allow them to kill, because that is the purpose of a war. And so they developed battlefield. According to a research and published in a book called The Psychology of Evil, that was the purpose. So it wasn't originally designed for kids to play with, but to psych soldiers so they can kill. If a device that can be used for killing can also be used for safety, is that not a better option? And that is what we are proposing in this research. So this picture is also given for us to understand that people are usually not hooked up to information, although it is so important. This is an air hostess demonstrating safety before a flight. But then evidence indicates that most participants before a flight do not listen to these safety instructions by the air hostess. Why? Why are people not interested in something which is so much important? Because it's not interesting. that is the reason. So if we're able to gamify it for people to catch the attention, the interest of people, then it is a better means of training. In medical field, simulation is being used to train doctors on delicate operations so that the trainer could be miles away with the participants in another location, and they can be trained remotely and virtually. So they would operate on a dummy, for example, before the actual operation is done. So while the actual work is being done, we know that the processes are right. And also in education, kids these days are learning through gamification and through immersive virtual environment and serious games. When people learn in that environment, it's interesting, and as we saw from the pyramid of learning, it increases retention, and it's also cheaper. There's a flight simulator, we all know, where it's used extensively in the airline industry to train pilots, because you can't say, just go and fly a real plane and let's see if you can fly. No, you have to train the person first. So that was the original use of immersive environments for training. And these days it's also used in the mines for safety purposes, to allow miners to experience situations, hazardous situations, and see their reaction. Because training needs to be practiced, and yet you cannot put a flame in this room and let's say, let's run and see if we can run. It's practically not possible. So if you're able to simulate this room, and then you see a flame, and there's a way you can run away, then you can practice the evacuation effectively. And we know driving simulators are also increasing in popularity. However, in spite of and this is construction, in spite of the benefits we have from simulations, only few industries are employing them, few high-risk industries, which we have pictured here. We found out that conspicuously missing was the application in gas power plant production, which also has a high level of hazards, but then they are not exposing workers to this kind of training. So that is what this research proposes, that if participants be able to create that environment, a gas power plant, and immerse participants within that environment for them to be trained, then that training would have a high-reaching objective than, for example, traditional safety training methods, which has been seen to be ineffective. So we know the high risk of industrial accidents. Actually, evidence indicates that annually we have about 2.378 people who die at work every year. This is unacceptable. Almost half of the population of Finland, through sicknesses, through accidents. So there are standards to cause people to, systems to work so people can work safely, but still people die. So more proactive measures need to be implemented according to International Standards Organization 45001, which was released 2018. They proposed that safety training needs to be proactive. For example, even before a plant is built, we need to know how safe it will be. And also, immersive serious environments and serious games has been used with evidence that it increases learning. And in the mining, as we saw, construction and aviation, it's used extensively because they are the highest industries with the risk. And yet, as I said, in the gas power plant, though it has fair share of hazards, we don't see this application. So this is where we need to implement this measure in a factory to see how people would react to it. And this work was done in Technobotnia, and we simulated a gas power plant with 3 engines and immersed students in it one by one to give them a work as gamified. When one is doing something with a purpose, for example, a story, then you are focused onto it. And while participants are focused on changing filters in the plant, a fire would erupt and they have to evacuate. And then we study how well people are able to evacuate, the time frame, for example, and their reaction towards the flames, and see if in the proper factory or plant, they would be able to implement the knowledge and experience there. And so this is the task that they had to perform. They had to change the filters and also go on to the engines. And besides all the fun that they had, there is a learning purpose where they learn safety. For example, personal protective equipment and the safety within the environment where one needs to work and all of that. And so let's see some of the participants. We have 3 participants who, we have the pictures here. In all, we had 52 people to experience this environment. And you see, they enjoy the settings and they are fully immersed. For example, in a class, someone can be browsing their phone while the teacher is teaching. But in simulation, it's not like that. So all your mind, because what you hear, what you see, and what you do, you automatically remember, and then you learn. So here, another participant, he had worked and there was a flame, so he had to evacuate the plant. And look at his face, if you can see his smile through his teeth, because he's enjoying it. And it's in an enjoyment that learning takes place, not when people are serious with a pen to learn. And this lady has finished her evacuation. It's like, I'm free. I'm out of the plant. I'm out of the danger. So this experience would stay for a long time in the minds of people. And then the results, let's look at the collated results for the participants. We see here that majority of the participants, that is the one in blue, 53%, agreed that the environment was truly capable for learning in safety. And also, when they were asked whether when they compare the simulation environment with virtual reality in serious games, when they compared that to classroom learning or safety training through PowerPoint, what we believe that simulation learning is higher. And do they agree? And look at the level that they strongly agreed. That is the green, which is 43%. Only 9% sat on the fence, and we had 1% that disagreed. And none strongly disagreed, telling us that this technology is truly fit for the purpose of safety training. And there was another research which, can this link work? Can you please click it and let's see if it will work? That is an article which has been published from this research in the International Journal of Disaster Risk Reduction. And if we look at another study that was done with the same setup with another group of people, we have, when they were asked regarding the capability of the immersive virtual environment for the training, we see the results. Look at the red. They agreed, and then the blue strongly agree. And then the same question, other questions, authentic learning. How reasonable is the learning? What benefits do people get from this kind of environment? The results also come. And then the proximity of the safety environment to reality. When one is immersed in the plant, do they remember it as being in a plant, or they remember it as being in Technobotnia, for example? And the result was that they really remembered that they were in a plant more than in the laboratory. That means the purpose is being achieved. And yes, so this is the journal. This is the, can you scroll it up a bit so you can see a few pictures? Yes. So it was, yeah. So, okay, we can look at the participants, even from the pictures on the left-hand side. That was the plant and one of the participants. So it's, you are inside the plant and you are working. So we even asked participants, okay, you can exit this, please. We also asked participants the ergonomics, how they felt with the use of the head-mounted display, because in some research somewhere, participants said they had simulator sickness. That means they felt nauseic or they had headache or some things after some periods of immersion in virtual reality. So we took steps to ensure that the device which is used for safety training would also not pose any kind of hazards to the trainers. So we had a simulation for shorter periods. The manufacturers of the Oculus Rift, for example, suggest that participants shouldn't be immersed more than 25 minutes at a time. And many people in some research, because it's interesting, they are hooked to it, they forget these safety measures. But we implemented it to ensure that no one would suffer the problems that simulation sicknesses can cause. So I believe now we can play with safety. Any questions? All right, thank you.